Hi everybody, it's Dr. Stuart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the 4th of July weekend of 2019. And of course the big story is the earthquakes in California, and I am going to get to that in a moment, but I need to go through a few stories first because the California story will be connected to some other stories which I want to have all together. First of all, the new president of El Salvador took responsibility for the deaths of a father and daughter who drowned crossing the Rio Grande in an effort to reach the United States. And he said it was on his government's part to make the country a safer place, and one where migration is an option and not an obligation. Actually, I don't even think it should be an option. Now, the photograph that perhaps most of you have seen was taken from the Mexican side of the river, showing the body of Oscar Martinez and his daughter, Valeria, face down in the water with Valeria's arms still wrapped around her father's neck, which shocked the world last month in the debate about the illegal immigration to the United States. Personally, I think it was a staged photograph.
I absolutely agree.
There was no discoloration in the bodies. No faces were shown. It looked like it had been perfectly set up. And if they were trying to cross the Rio Grande, why were the bodies still on the Mexican side?
And facing the shore.
And why would her arms still be around her father? When people drown like that, their bodies separate and they float in different directions.
Because they plump up and...
Yes. So... they would not end up like this. I think it was a fake photograph. And then just a couple of days later, the mother and her family were all dressed up at this funeral in El Salvador, which you didn't see the bodies then either, and the whole thing looked like it was fake. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I don't think it was real. The president of El Salvador, his name is Nayib Bukele. That sounds Hispanic to me. He took office a month ago and promised to make El Salvador a safer and better place, and that his country is to blame for the deaths. I agree. He said his government is responsible for fixing the problems that have forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee in the first place. Why? Because they don't have a job, because they're being threatened by gangs, because they don't have basic things like water, education, and health. He continued, who can blame any other country, but what about our blame? What country did they flee? Did they flee the United States? They fled El Salvador. They fled our country, and it's our fault. And again, I agree with him. And he said he would work to make El Salvador more prosperous and create jobs. So, he says, if people have an opportunity for decent jobs, a decent education, decent healthcare system and security, I know that forced immigration will be reduced to zero. Finally, in May, 84,000 adults and children traveling together were apprehended at the U.S. border. And nearly 500,000 illegal immigrants have been detained at the border since the start of 2019 alone, resulting in the overcrowding of the U.S. holding centers. You know what, people? Those holding centers were not created to be resorts for illegal immigrants. No country should have to deal with 500,000 illegal immigrants at their border within a 6-month period of time. And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has not told the truth about her visit to the border detention facility and refuses to help alleviate the crisis. She voted against money to help the crisis. And this is according to Representative Dan Crenshaw of Texas. He said, it's sad to see she's getting bolder with her lies on this. Yes, she is, along with all the people associated with her. Now she's saying that Border Patrol agents harassed her and forced migrants to drink out of toilets. This is insanity. This is not true. There is no one corroborating these kind of reports, yet she's using it to try to make her case that we shouldn't have any enforcement and that we should not have open borders And it's dishonest behavior from a member of Congress, and I think she should be expelled.
And not only that, but they're doing DNA tests and they're showing that most of those...
Well, I'm going to get
that. Okay.
And he says people like AOC are operating off a false premise, and it's deliberately designed to misinform the American people for her political ends. First, she said there was no crisis at all. Then she said there was a manufactured crisis. And then it was completely created by Trump. And then they were concentration camps. And then people are Nazis. And he says, I don't see them offering up any space in their own homes. She lives in a luxury building. They're not offering a better solution. And they really want no enforcement. And that's correct, because what they want is the destruction of the United States and a communist socialist society with them in charge of it. And here's what your information. Mexico has confirmed that illegal immigrants are attempting to buy children from vulnerable mothers to use as a tool to help them cross the border into the United States. Mexican officials are verifying claims by U.S. border authorities that some illegals are traveling with children who aren't theirs and they're not related to them, in a bid to try to take advantage of immigration loopholes and enter the United States. Authorities in Mexico are now coming forward to assert that illegal immigrants are preying on vulnerable single mothers in Tijuana shelters, suggesting they sell their children to them. These single men have offered about $350 to buy children at the Iglesia Embajadores de Jesus shelter in Tijuana. So here's a question. These poor little immigrants, where did they get freaking $350 to buy a child? Who gave them that money?
It's a lot of money in Mexico.
Yeah. If they had that money, why would they leave? Because that's a lot of money in Mexico or in El Salvador. Here's the thing. Under existing law, certain unaccompanied alien children from Mexico and Canada who enter illegally and have no valid claim to stay can be quickly returned home. But unaccompanied children from every other country in the world must be transferred to the Department of Health and Human Services within 72 hours and then released to parents or guardians in the United States. Additionally, when a child is apprehended with their parents, it is required, due to court rulings, to release that child within 20 days. And this effectively creates a get-out-of-jail-free card for families and groups who pose as families. Unsurprisingly, word of this loophole has spread around the world, and from October 2017 to 2018, February 2019, there was a 315% increase in illegal aliens fraudulently using children to pose as family units to gain entry into the United States as compared to other years. So again, my question is, who is paying for Asians, Africans, Arabs, and Haitians to fly to Central America, pay for children that aren't theirs, and then try to cross Mexico into the United States? Who is paying for it? How did someone from Haiti, who doesn't have 3 cents to their name, fly to Guatemala or Honduras and then cross across? Who paid for that?
Well,
and then how are they paying to buy children?
And plus, they got to get from point A to point B.
Somebody said this is a setup. It's obviously
way.
a setup, and they're all dressed very nicely, by the way. Now to a closer to home story in California. First of all, it's been updated because a 7.1 quake has just hit California this morning, after a 6.4 the other day, and it's the largest earthquakes in over 20 years. The officials admitted that a new Los Angeles earthquake warning app had not sent out a public alert despite the most powerful Southern California quake since 1999. The Shake Alert system detected the quake but did not trigger a public warning because the magnitude was less than 5.0 in the Los Angeles area. Now, so Lucy Jones, when they complained to her, she's a head seismologist, she said, oh, then we'll fix it. So then there was a 7.1 and there still was no warning.
And what are they going to do even with a warning?
pray to Jesus before.
That's what I would say, because what's that going to? How's that going to help them?
Like they said, kiss your butt goodbye. That's give you time to do that.
That's about it.
People from Las Vegas to the Pacific Coast reported feeling a rolling motion, that could be from the alcohol, that shook shower doors and made hanging dining room lights sway, and they showed you the pool waters flowing out, made a big deal out of it. And it was even felt in Arizona, Utah, and Mexico. But this today's 7.1 quake was felt as far north as Sacramento. That's,
Did you say Wyoming too?
Not Wyoming. Lucy Jones, a seismologist with the California Institute of Technology Seismology Lab, says this has been an extremely quiet, abnormal time. This type of earthquake is much more normal. The long-term average is probably once every 5 or 10 years somewhere in Southern California. So she also said that within 1 week, there could be another 7+ in California.
Wow.
And I warned you all. I'm sorry, I have no compassion for you. I told you years ago to get the freak out of California. Now it's too late. Because you know what? It's happening, people. It's breaking up. So it's on you. Although the New Madrid fault line has been moving around here as well. So I guess maybe we should. Where are we going to go?
I don't know.
Can't go anyplace.
Jump in the lake.
Well, the lake has a sea monster in it. As
and bacteria.
I don't know if you all saw the video.
I had that in my news.
Of your news? Okay. Anyway, in addition to the earthquakes, volcanoes throughout the world have been going off in the last several days. A rash of activity spread to distant corners of the globe. Katla volcano in Iceland, Mount St. Helens in your homeland, Washington State, Kilauea in Hawaii, and Etna in Sicily. There must be a volcano celebration. And in addition to all that, Mount Sinabung in Indonesia, White Island volcano in New Zealand also have started to have earthquakes and possible eruptions. And earthquake activity recently increased, as I've been telling you, at Yellowstone National Park, with 83 earthquakes in 1 day last week alone. Now, this is my favorite sentence. According to experts, the increased activity or evidence of an earthquake swarm can signify gases and magma are moving beneath the surface. You think? Wow, who would have thought of that?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because of all this stuff.
How could that possibly be around a volcano?
Maybe it's pushing stuff up into
Seriously,
Wyoming.
these people need to be fired and get real people in there. Anyway, I know we have viewers in the Philippines, and the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology has also warned Southeast Asia should prepare for a big one. And they said that that the people in the Philippines and Asia should prepare for a possible destructive earthquake. And finally, again in one of your homelands, the Stromboli volcano erupted yesterday on the island of Lipari in Italy. So all of this contributes to an ice age, because as that ash and the dust goes up into the atmosphere and blocks the sun, it makes everything colder. The heat wave in Alaska, people, was caused by the buckling of the jet stream due to volcanic activity and gases underneath the Pacific Ocean, which caused heat and ash to push forward through the water and push the jet stream north, which is why it has nothing to do with global warming. It has to do with volcanic activity. And this is emanating out of the Pacific region. If you live near the Pacific,
bad news.
I warned you. I tell you, no pity on you. Get out yesterday. No, last year you should have gotten out, because now forget it. Now here's another story which I like. It's my last story so far. And everyone has seen that Roswell film of the autopsies of the...
That was a long time ago.
It was in the 90s, yeah. So a renowned, and they said it was a hoax, and the guy that made the film said he made it, and it was a hoax, and blah, blah. So a renowned CIA scientist actually believed that the hoax Roswell UFO crash alien autopsy video was real. The Roswell footage was first unveiled in 1995 by British entrepreneur Ray Santilli, who said he discovered the mysterious reel of film by chance when attempting to obtain archive clips of Elvis Presley from a retired U.S. military cameraman. Well, that makes sense since Elvis is an alien. Santilli went on to sell the footage to hundreds of TV stations across 33 countries and made millions of dollars in the process. However, the document claims that former CIA scientist Kit Green, that's too much of a programming name, Kit Green, was briefed by three different times during and after his tenure at the CIA on topics relevant to UFOs and the Roswell incident, especially the film Alien Autopsy. This Mr. Green left the CIA by 2001, and the documents claim that Green was summoned to the Pentagon by a person in uniform to professionally evaluate the legitimacy of the footage. In summation, Green is said to have sensationally determined that the alien autopsy film is real, the alien cadaver is real, and he had previously been shown this film in a 1987 and 1988 Pentagon briefing, which was 9 years or 8 years before this supposedly was made. An email included in the memo also details Green claiming that alien forensic tissue and organs are being held in storage at the Walter Reed Armed Forces Institute for Pathology Medical Museum in Washington, D.C. And I had stated in one of our September classes a while back that a 1942 UFO wreckage from Missouri is being kept under the Capitol building. So Washington is full of alien artifacts and bodies. And more alien revelations are coming out this year. And in my September class, I will reveal the locations of demonic vortices and how certain alien beings arrived here.
Okay, all sounds fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Fascinating. All right, I have a couple of stories as well. Now, the big news as far as I was concerned was President Trump becoming the first president to step inside of North Korea. What do you think of that?
I think that he went a long way for takeout.
Yeah. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so as you all know, he reached across the demarcation line to shake hands with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And at Kim's invitation, he stepped across the border and into North Korea in a historic moment that Trump called a great honor.
Yeah, but it was a trick because really had he gone to there was a trap door that was going to open and you were right in. Yeah, you come my side now.
Trump and Kim met for more than 40 minutes, and they included South Korean President Moon.
So he was over the moon.
Yeah, so all of that is very historic, and Trump said it will be more historic if something comes of it. Now there's Jade, which I told you about before.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the filming in here because this is where the doggies are.
Right, and he's still talking.
It doesn't matter where we are, they still don't like it.
He talks. Well, he talks. That's what I was telling you. Anyway, so Trump says it will be more historic if something comes of it, something very important, but a lot has already come of it, pointing to the relationships that have been built through engaging directly with the North Koreans, and claimed that it was a fiery mess during the previous administration. And the president said he would be inviting Kim to visit him in the White House.
Really?
So let's see what that happens.
He probably wants him to bring that takeaway.
And in the UK, now this was interesting.
You deliver? Yeah, I deliver to White House.
And I want to ask you your opinion on this. Why would they want to fertilize the ocean with iron, knowing what we know about iron?
Is that a real question? Or
That's a real question. No, it's a real question. There's a Cambridge University professor named Sir David King wants to fertilize the ocean with iron because he claims that iron aerosols would cause ocean forests to develop within weeks.
Really?
So this would stimulate algae blooms that absorb carbon dioxide from the sea and the atmosphere. So he thinks it will save the earth. So
well, that's okay.
You think so? You want to put iron in the ocean?
It'll also keep demons away.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because remember, the ocean water is very similar to human blood.
Right.
And so we want to have iron in it to keep the demonic entities away.
But you know, seaweed and kelp and all those things are already very rich in iron.
They're depleted.
Well, anyway, apparently this idea was first explored back in the 90s, but now Sir David King is saying that we should seriously look at this again. He said in the shallow oceans in coastal regions, he said that it would help to encourage seaweed and kelp back in a relatively simple manner and at a low cost.
Jade is under my
I know, I see him. He's was under my chair while you were talking. And then he believes that iron should be used in the deep ocean to stimulate phytoplankton, and he also believes that these algae blooms would increase fish stock. But other scientists say that there were poorly known downside risks to fertilizing the oceans. For example, it would change the ecology of the large ocean regions.
Well, that's the whole point.
No, that's I don't know. I don't think it's good to mess with Mother Nature. That's
It's already messed.
No, I don't think they should mess with it anymore.
To fix it now.
Yeah, they need to fix it. And this report by Oxford Economics, a global forecasting and
What's with
quantitative
all this British stuff? You know how nuts they
analysis
are.
firm, says that by 2030, machines are expected to displace about 20 million manufacturing jobs across the world. However, it says that there will be more jobs created as a result, but the downside is that the poor regions are expected to lose the most jobs and probably will not spring back. So in the U.S., this means Oregon, Louisiana, Texas, Indiana, and North Carolina, that are the most vulnerable states because they are more reliant on manufacturing jobs that could disappear because of robots. So, we'll see.
They're all in the South, most of them.
Yes, well, yes. No, not Oregon, obviously. And Indiana is Midwest. So, anyway, and then in the UK, they are discussing, is it time to treat sugar like smoking?
Huh?
Yeah. Because remember how they're banning smoking all over the place?
Well, it's a long time ago.
Yes, 2007. So now the UK is thinking about treating sugar like cigarettes. For example,
UK, all they eat is sugar. That's why they have rotten teeth.
they say sugary drinks are already taxed, but now the leading think tank says that they should wrap sweet snacks and sugary drinks in plain packaging to make them less appealing. So that was silly.
That is stupid.
It's been called for by the Institute for Public Policy Research.
That's going to fool people into not wanting sugar.
Well, as you know, first of all, the body needs sugar for energy, and second of all, eating too much sugar is based on the mind pattern because you feel like you have emotional holes, so you're trying to fill it up with sugar, with sweetness of life. But you do need some sugar. But before they make a decision, they're waiting to hear from England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Dame Sally Davies. And they claim that their goal is to have the child obesity rate by 2030. So we'll see what happens. So 2030 was interesting because they talked about 2030 by robots, now 2030 by having the child obesity rate. So it's interesting these same dates are being talked about over and over again. And here in the U.S., Boston, believe it or not, is moving forward to hold a straight pride parade. Okay?
I want a parade for people that like red wine.
WHINE, right? City officials said the organizer's public event application was approved, which is the first step toward receiving a permit for the parade. Now the organizers need the approval of the police district captains and the licensing board to get a parade permit and an entertainment license. Now, critics claimed that the idea was a result of, listen to this group name, Super Happy Fun America. Super Happy
Where's
Fun
that?
America. It's a group.
I want to be in
online.
that group.
So they're the ones that want to hold the parade. And the group's president said the event is not anti-gay but pro-straight. And the permit says about 2,000 attendees are expected.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why should there be a parade about who you have sex with?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
That's my point for all of this.
Like, why don't they have a parade for people who like sushi? And another parade for people who eat chocolate ice cream?
Exactly.
Like, how stupid is this?
And they want to raise the straight pride flag, which they...
There is one?
Well, they've determined that...
What is it? Oh, I know. It's like a...
The male and female sex symbols linked against a purple and blue background. Now, the request to raise the flag was respectfully denied, since use of the poles is at the city's sole and complete discretion. So, anyway, this parade is going to be held supposedly on August 31st, and if it goes forward, the mayor of the city will not attend.
So stupid.
Now,
Nobody should attend any parade. It's just stupid.
So in Canada,
parades are childish.
In Canada, parades could be fun, but I mean, depends on what's going on. In Canada, a little town called Airdrie, Alberta, received a letter from a group organizer who argued that straight people are an oppressed minority, and he wants to put "It's Great to Be Straight" pride flag at City Hall. Okay? Because this city just held its first LGBTQ pride celebration last month.
The little tiny town.
Yeah, so now they want to have a straight, they want to raise the straight flag.
What about the gender fluid people? They need a parade.
Well, I think the LGBTQT stuff.
It is?
I think because Q, I think
M-O-U-S-E.
I think Q stands for questioning. So
I question all of it.
So it says, so this organizer who wants to do a straight parade or straight flag said, "We will fight for the right of straights everywhere to express pride in themselves without fear of judgment and hate.
Oh, please.
The day will come when straights will finally be included as equals among all the other orientations."
That's hilarious.
So I was thinking maybe that LGBTQT should also put an S in there because they're excluding people. Well, for straight, because
for stupidity.
Because they're excluding straight people, so they're not inclusive, right? Right.
We should all be insulted and
Right.
they're racist and prejudiced.
Right. So Airdrie councillor Tina Petro teared up during the council meeting, declaring that the organization should be grateful there's no need for a straight pride flag or parade, rather than trying to push for one. So she says that the pride flag does exactly the opposite of exclusion. Well, it's excluding straight people, right?
Yes.
Okay. So she says it flies to celebrate the diverse culture we have and the acceptance of everyone's choices, but it doesn't include straight people, so it's exclusive. So anyway, the council isn't going to answer the letter, they're just going to file it. So like they got it, but they're not going to do anything.
They have to put A at the end of it because Canada.
And then just in case you're wondering more about the Super Happy Fun America Advocates on behalf
I like
of the
name
straight
of that group.
community.
I want to be a Fun America.
Okay, they are building, this is from their website, they want to build respect, inclusivity, equality, diversity, unity, solidarity, dignity, social mobility, empowerment, sustainability.
No chocolate or sushi?
Justice, awareness, intersectionality, whatever that means, human rights, education, access, participation, dialogue, visibility, tolerance, alliances with people from all walks of life. So they're including everybody. They're not excluding
I think
people.
all those groups should move to California.
Well, I think all of those groups aren't important because it's all ridiculous. Like you said, the LGBTQT is excluding straight people.
M-O-U-S-E.
So we need to include everybody.
No, they should just put like every letter of the alphabet in there.
That would be a good idea. That would be all inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. All right. And then scientists are wanting again to create human-monkey hybrids.
Guess what? I know that there's millions of them out there.
Because they want to use these chimeras to help treat diseases like Alzheimer's.
What? Can you repeat that? I didn't understand any of it. Who are you?
That's not funny.
You're telling me.
Monkeys with partly human-derived brains, they're claiming, would be good models of Alzheimer's for research, which I think sounds really terrible.
That's really stupid. Why don't they have a letter for them in a group?
I think that's a good idea. They said that research says that, or the researchers who are opposed to it says smarter monkeys is fraught with ethical issues, but they're saying that gene editing experts are already using rat, mouse, human, pig chimeras.
I'm telling you, those are real people.
So what they want to do is they want to use chimeras as well to explore the possibility of creating transplantable human organs in animals to relieve donor organ shortages. And some researchers say they should ban that altogether, but apparently Alzheimer's, it says, is the disease that remains the only major cause of death in Western countries that does not have an effective treatment. So they're arguing to use monkeys.
That means they don't have a conventional treatment, but there are treatments.
There are treatments. That's what we talk about in our work. Primate brains are closer to our own, leading scientists to turn aging monkeys and those that have been injected with the Alzheimer's protein beta amyloid, though it remains unclear to what extent they're afflicted by the disease. I think it's really stupid.
Cruel to
yes.
do that to them.
I think it's terrible.
I think they should inject themselves with it.
I think it's terrible. So what they want to do is they want to...
upset.
We should let them see him because they haven't seen him for a while. Can you bring him up here? Or is he going to scream? This is our talker. We're in the other room. This is the guy that talks to us. So anyway, it sounds really terrible to me. And then they're saying in China that they announced back in April that they're already doing this to monkeys. And even though people don't like it, they're still working on using it to create to see what the role the genes play in human intelligence. And you want to do this with monkeys, so I think it's really terrible.
Then they eat them after in China. They make them and they eat them.
I don't know what they do with them. I just think it's terrible. Now this is my best story I saved for last. And this one, and you're going to see why, because I think it's fascinating.
All right, just say it.
Okay, this is about the christening that's happening today of Harry and Meghan's baby
it happened
Archie.
already.
Did it happen already?
Oh yeah, there's a picture of it already.
Was it? Okay, so there would be no television coverage, nor have press photographers been invited.
Yeah, because it was satanic.
What's interesting to me, now there's several interesting points. My last sentence is the most fascinating to me, and you'll see what you have to say. So they're not releasing the list of godparents, which usually they do. So godparents.
Which we know we're not on the list.
And what's interesting is they're going to keep the names private, so we don't know who that will be. And the Queen is not attending.
What?
Due to a prior engagement.
Yeah, because she had to use the bathroom.
So what I'm saying now, isn't that an odd thing? Because for her not
she don't like them.
I don't know what's going. Well, she had
Nobody likes them.
She had to approve everything that's going on. So it's not a matter of like in those circles. It's a matter
First
of what
all,
they do.
We know, and we have found out recently that Meghan is a man.
Ah.
You remember?
But what does that have to do with this?
Which means Harry is
Maybe he's
not what you think he is.
He's a woman. For all we know. But the reason the Queen isn't attending, we don't know. But obviously there's...
So where did the baby come from is my question.
That I would like to know. We talked about that before.
Maybe it's a chimera.
Maybe. So, anyway, they're raising their son out of the spotlight. And I'm thinking that's because he's something weird with him.
Yeah, you think?
That they don't want people to see.
Yeah, because he's not natural. He's a demonic entity.
And they're going to be, of course, we've talked about taking him to Africa soon.
Yeah, and they're going to live there.
Okay, now listen to this one. He's going to wear a handmade replica of the royal christening robe, which was made for Queen Victoria's eldest daughter.
Queen Victoria was an aunt.
And the ornate lily font, which was commissioned by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert for the baptism of their first child, Victoria. The Princess Royal in 1841 will be used. Now listen to this. This is what they're going to use to baptize this child with. Water from the River Jordan. They put that in the article. Water from the River Jordan.
Because he's an Antichrist.
Isn't that interesting? So why would they put that in there? That was the most fascinating thing of all my news this week, I think. That one little thing, because that's telling you what they're doing, what kind of rituals they're performing, and where it's heading to. So a lot of times people say, well, why are you telling us things? Is this sensational? This is the trend. This is why we're telling you this.
They asked Meghan and Harry why they used $3 million of UK taxpayers' money to renovate their new house. But because they had to move out of where they are because nobody wanted them.
Well, that has nothing to do with it because it's all a show. So I want to tell you, Decoding Your Life is a book you want to have because this is universal law and all of this talks to you about protection techniques. Protection techniques, protection techniques, protection techniques, and all of this is about healing your mind because no matter what you do, no matter what vitamin you take or food you eat, you've got to take care of your mind or nothing's going to work.
See, don't let it happen to you. It happened to me.
Instead of doing things with monkeys, they need to be doing things with the mind, right?
Yes.
They need to be using hyperspace oversoul techniques. That's what's going to give you healing.
And speaking of books, I just want to mention that we do have 2 new books that are...
You say that every week.
Yes, but I want people to read them before they come to the September class.
Well, we got to get them out first. It's from the dog. It's here.
Yeah, and the September class, I'm going to be adding the Thomas Code. You need to know what the Thomas Code is. I will be giving you the template for salvation and correction because I have that now. And Secrets of Nigeria, India, Israel, and the Lost Tribes. And just as an aside, the next few months, if not weeks, look for changes in the Iranian government, the end of Pierre Trudeau in Canada, and watch Cuba and Venezuela.
And is it going to be the end of California? Do we know?
Already, it's an end. It's
starting.
Already.
All right, so we always have lots of things for you to read. We have lots of information on our website, expansions.com. Get a membership, less than $1 a day. You have direct access to Stuart and I there. We do not do Q&A on YouTube and Facebook. So those of you who write these questions...
You know what we should do? We should have an Adopt Stuart fund.
Why?
Why not? I need someone to take care of me.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You're a grown man. You take care of yourself.
I'm not. I'm a child within.
No, that's ridiculous. So, with that said, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.